More shotguns! Prey. The Throne S1 looks the part, but it don't play all the right chords. Firstly, the model is very nice and sleek, sci-fi and vintage all at once. Sound-wise, it's a bit odd, not in a bad way. Each click and boom is well made, but the shot has a wobbly distortion to it. Maybe that fits the theme of the game more, and I have grown to like it. Posing of the gun on screen is a bit on the bloated side, filling a huge chunk of screen real estate. Animation wise, the pump between shots is annoying. The weapon stays right in your foreground view, which is not good in combat. The thing doesn't sway at all when you aim around, no inertia leading or lagging the aim, which is really poor for a big budget game in 2017. It feels so static on screen and breaks the immersion immediately for me in a game that pulls you into the story and environment. I saw a few glitches in my playthrough too. Check out this when firing after a reload. Whoops. It's alright, they magically hit the bad guy. The projectile feels okay, but severely limited to short range. Decent environment damage, but enemies are all ethereal jelly, so it's not clear how well you've hit them. Those health bars simply don't cut it. Drawing your eyes away from the target during combat, never welcome in an FPS, but at least you can turn them off. The audible feedback is there, and when they do pop, it's kinda nice and messy up close. Enemies are not that much fun to fight generally. I didn't enjoy shooting anything at a level that made me want more. In fact, I got very bored of it quickly once the very novel nature of the enemy's movement and abilities had worn off. They're full of character, which is great, but they all reduce to the same sloshy mess. Needed a bit more variety. Moon Crash introduces some elemental mod effects to the gun, if you're lucky enough to find one spawned in at random. You'll find this cool little animated gizmo stuck on the weapons in various flavours. I can't say it revolutionised the combat, however, it's pretty much the same. I do appreciate the flashy new particle effects they add. Strafe. This one's alright. It's very neat and has a nice art style to it. The gun reminds me of Lego. Its fire mode is automatic, but not too fast or too slow. It does have by default a very small magazine size, which is a bit naff. 6 shells for an auto shotgun is a bit silly. But it does have a nice alt fire, a kind of nail bomb with multi-ricochet. Very pretty. Enemies have some good damage and death states, with limb dismemberment and OTT jibs making for a nicely messy affair. There's just not much more going on with the gunplay, so like I said, it's alright, nothing amazing. Arc. I can't remember how many hours I sunk into this game grinding my way to crafting this gun, and then I found out about the cheat codes afterwards. But hey, we have a competent shooter here. Vin Diesel likes it, but how well does it stack up against the rest of the field? The model looks cool and very fitting for this game, well posed on screen and animated nice enough too. Such a relief to have firepower now, you really appreciate each shot. It sounds okay, nothing amazing. The biggest letdown are the complete lack of death animations. It's back to ragdoll hell in this game, particularly dull when you down a big fella and they just slump to the floor with no emotion. At least there are some suitable staggers in there, even if I do feel a bit cruel for shooting some of these beasts. I really like the projectile setup, very satisfying to hit the enemies and environment, kicks up a lot of dirt and has great camera shudder for added emphasis. The The pump action shotgun is more satisfying to use in the long run, punchy and highly effective with a good aim. Most beasts will meet their match against this fully loaded weapon, and that's refreshing, to be somewhere near the top of the food chain at last. It's got a nice shiny model and sounds okay again. There's a couple of odd glitches in the shot sound however, where it cuts abruptly at times, and the pump while zoomed in sounds a little suspect. Definitely could have used a little bit more polish there. I didn't find anything I couldn't handle with this gun, and the world soon became a ragdoll graveyard. There's not a lot between these two shotties, so they both share the same score. A respectable 6 out of 10 for this ambitious survival FPS. Looking forward to the sequel. Destiny 2! We get a vast assortment of shotguns and there's not much between them, so here's a cross section. All the shotguns are nicely modelled with a variety of styles. You can find various shiny texture jobs too, called shaders in game. Your base gun will probably look worn out and dull on first pickup, but a new texture pack with metallic speculars can really set some of the designs off to your own taste. Some of these guns look incredibly normal for such a game in a fantasy setting. It's all very sleek, but maybe some extra techno wizardry would have made all the aesthetics pop a bit more. My all too familiar pet hate is back again, as each shotgun is way too big on screen. Proper Bioshock syndrome going on here. It's simply not worth filling so much screen real estate to show off a pretty skin, and I won't mention it's to help push their shader microtransactions. Whoops. I'd much rather see the whole environment in my field of view for a better sense of where enemies are, so I know exactly where my next move should be. Instead, you lose the entire bottom right quadrant of your vision in combat, and it makes the gunplay feel a little claustrophobic. On the positive side, each weapon sounds fantastic. Very rich, high fidelity, crystal clear snaps and sci-fi electrifying sounds. It's fit for a Hollywood blockbuster. Animation is extremely polished for the shots, pumps and reloads, although the guns themselves don't have much going on in terms of moving parts or extra sci-fi glowiness. They're all pretty static as mentioned earlier. This also applies to the motion of aiming the guns. There's very little inertia, so again, the gun feels very static on screen. It's way too restrictive in a game like this with open areas and frantic battles. I feel like I'm constantly aiming down a tank cannon. On the projectile front, it's okay. You get your regular wall decals and some small particle effect kicking up a little dust and electrical effect if it's not a kinetic weapon. Enemies are excellent, kills feel rewarding and fully responsive, there's great staggering animation and weak spots to aim for. It's almost like a proper single player campaign has loaned its enemy to an online MMO. It has the right feeling when you hit the various foes. So, the shotguns and their gameplay in Destiny 2 deserve high praise, but please, Bungie, sort out the scale and sway of these things on screen. This isn't Halo Combat Evolved with a 55-degree field of view anymore. Open up the screen and help show off the undoubtable beauty of the world you have created. Hi hell! Adding here is more of a footnote because I can't fully work this thing out. Like the game Heavy Bullets, it's a single weapon game and I have to conclude this weapon is a slug firing shotgun due to the game's description. Unleash pump action fury and fancy footwork in a quick shot first person shooter. What else is pump action? It is a lot of twitchy fun nailing these baddies with a sweet shot through abstract tower block levels. Very appealing visuals and enemy reaction feedback. What you see is what you get, and it's well worth your time. Please consider supporting on Patreon. I love it!